What's going on, friends? It's Anton Daniels, and I gotta have a conversation with you guys about Tiege Hanley because you see how the sun is hitting me? This is no finesse, no makeup, no filters, no none of that. This is 100% Tiege Hanley. I use it in the morning as soon as I get up, right after I pray and brush my teeth, jump in the shower, and I'm hitting the streets because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even though they're giving you 40% off your first order, 20% off for life, even though you may get a free gift, forget all that, right? Because we would do this even if it was full price because it's worth that much. I'm in the streets, I'm kicking it with people when I see Dusties everywhere. You don't want to be them. You want to separate yourself. And the way that you separate yourself is self-care. Ladies get it for the fellas. Fellas don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. I'm about to hit the streets right now and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. I mean, I already got confidence, but to have that extra boost of confidence, knowing that you've taken care of yourself and you set yourself apart from all of the rest of the sheep that's walking around making bad decisions on a daily basis. And it's reflected in their actions. It's reflected in the products that they use. It's reflected in the people that they follow. And so if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to make sure that you look good, they're going to send you the pack. They're going to give you all of the instructions on how you're supposed to use it. Then make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. Again, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Get your free gift. Make sure you tap in with your boy Anton Daniels because Unc is never going to lead you wrong. I would never have you use a product that I don't use myself. Again, they've been rocking with me for a long time. Make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. What's going on? Is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up to all of my friends and family that's in the building? I appreciate y'all. Y'all are the greatest. And when I say greatest, I don't take that lightly. I believe that y'all are the greatest audience on the face of the earth. I didn't even get to bed till after 3 o'clock in the morning last night. Man, all of my days is starting to intersect and it runs together. This is the life that comes along with being an entrepreneur. I've been living it for a long time, so I'm kind of used to it. I didn't expect to get to bed that late, but had a lot going on. So, couple of housekeeping announcements before we get started with the show. First and foremost, I am going to be doing a Patreon exclusive live stream tonight. All right. I did make a video, but I thought that it would be better to actually answer your questions with regard to content creation. All right. So we got two live streams this week. Two live streams this week inside of the Patreon. So I'm not going to release a vlog. Instead, I'm going to do a Patreon exclusive because I always want to prioritize the people that's looking to get to the bag. All right. So this weekend, we got Stock Club. This weekend, we got Stock Club. It's going to be a very, very, very important one because I want to break down exactly how we can continue to benefit off of what's going on in politics, the economy, so on and so forth. All right. But tonight, I am going to answer every question. And the reason I decided to do it as a live stream instead of a video is because in a video, I have to be predictive, right? So this is going to be a whole series. I would expect maybe a 3 or 4 part series, but I want to break it down into sections so that it's consumable for you guys and you can leverage the information so that you can make as much money as possible and monetize your platforms, okay? So I always like to share receipts. I give you guys the game. I don't gatekeep. And so in this particular series, at first, because if I make a video, then I have to try to be predictive on what you are looking for instead of answering the questions in real time and then being able to pull up the receipts and show you. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to be answering every question with regard to content creation, platforms that I use, software that I've invested in, how I separate responsibilities, all of the different types of channels that I make, how I make more money than most other people that are on the platform that may have a similar or more subscribers than me, the whole 9 yards. So if this is something that you're interested in, and I always record it and re-upload it for people to be able to view later so that you can always reference to it. So even if you don't catch everything, you can always come back. And then the next section that we have, we can actually answer some more questions if you have additional questions after that. But definitely going to be doing a live stream tonight. So Wednesday, I don't have to live stream on any other platform. So I'm going to prioritize tonight to speak to your questions and answer all of the questions that people have been asking me to do a live stream about. All right. So I'm carving out time just for the bag chaser. So shout out to everybody that's a part of the Patreon. If you are not a part of the Patreon, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. All right. So again, live stream tonight, live stream this weekend. No excuse for you not to be able to capitalize off of this and get to the bag. It always comes back to the money, and we're going to continue to do that. If you are a part of the Patreon, then you definitely need to make sure that you tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of any of the most recent videos that I have on the Patreon, all right? Make sure you link up. Last but not least, all right, we will probably be doing a meetup very, very soon, okay? We are going to start doing meetups this year. We're about to gear up, and I will be announcing exactly what city we will be in. And the reason that I like to do that and I don't release the venue details is because I want to make sure that everybody is supposed to be there. All right. So I got a method that I've mastered to ensure that everybody that's supposed to be there is there. Every time that we go, it is always free. So only thing you got to do is bring a good attitude, a party mindset, and then be able to network and have a good time and have some good drinks. All right. So we're going to be doing I'm going to be releasing exactly what city we going to, and then closer to the date, I will tell you exactly where we're going to be having it at. All right. So I am open to ideas. Put all of your ideas inside of the Discord, and we'll have that conversation going from there. All right. So if you want to see all of my friends and my people and all of the people that you live stream with, then you might want to tap into the Patreon. We're going to have a really, really good time. And I might even bring a couple more friends that you may not expect too. All right. What else do we need to get to before we get to the live stream today? Got a phenomenal show packed out for y'all. So the Atlantic released the text messages as far as the war plans from Pete Hegseth and all of the people that's associated with that. We're going to go over that. We got a deep dive into Jasmine Crockett. We have people that are protesting the federal government from continuing to cut jobs, including the post office. So we're going to get into bloated government contracts and all of that other stuff. So we got a lot that we want to tackle. And we're going to do quick hits, okay? So, yeah, man, we're going to get it. AD, let me see what y'all talking about. AD, you got to pull up to NYC at some point. Keisha, I come to NYC and do a meetup in NYC every single year. Keisha, it'd be lit too. It'd be absolutely lit. Listen, every year I make sure I hit all of the major cities, and I need to hit some smaller cities too. But I usually pick the major cities because those are the places that I can centrally, you know what I'm saying, get the majority of the people. I can get as many people as possible to come to that location. We always do New York. We always go West Coast out there in LA somewhere, or Glendale or something like that. Always do DC. Most of the time we do Atlanta. Definitely do somewhere in the South like Houston. And then occasionally we'll do a rooftop in the wintertime in Miami when it's 80 degrees or something like that. Gotta hit Detroit. So we always try to tap in all the markets, Vegas, places like that, okay? So I'm going to pick a couple of new cities this year too. But I always do a meetup in NYC, and it be lit. It be lit. All right. DC, we usually have a rooftop. Y'all want to do Nashville this year? Y'all willing to travel? Y'all willing to travel? All right, listen. Make sure y'all connect with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in. Patreon, again, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. If you've been here more than once, you should already be subscribed and you should have your notifications turned on. And then in addition to that, if you have not, and this is your first time here or this is your first time restreaming, then make sure you guys just hit a like for the algorithm. That's your reasonable expectation. Y'all ready to get into the show? All right, let's get to it. Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. First, let me give a shout out to my dog, Spencer Campbell. I appreciate you, Spencer Campbell, for holding me down on Cash App. Rand Wilson. Thank you, Rand Wilson. I appreciate you. Spencer, you got me yesterday and you got me today, so I just want to say I appreciate you. And then my dog, Mike That Dude. Shout out to Mike That Dude. I love you. I appreciate you. Colorado, a little liberal, but we might get there. Couple of super chats to start the show. Eric Wealth Harris says 100% tariff on Jasmine Crockett for saying Governor Hot Wheels. That is a Millionaire Morning Show joke, ain't it? Dog, listen, man. Listen. Tell your favorite legislators, tell your Congress people, your Senate, your House members, tell them all, man, to at least give me my credit when I say stuff, bro. Tell them all to give me my credit when I be saying stuff, man. When we say it, we're not making fun of nobody. We actually believe the Texas governor is cool. That's a fact. Man, listen, bro. I'm telling you that they actually be watching, all of them. What you think she came up with that on her own? Get out of here, bro. Good morning, AD. Can you do a meetup in Detroit? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But I'm trying to figure out how close I want that meetup to be. Like, where would the location be? I can't have y'all meeting up at my place. Can't have it at my rooftop per se. It would be lit though. It would be definitely lit. But yeah, man, let's get to it. All right, y'all. Lord bless us to be receptive, to be mindful, and to be purposeful in everything that we do on a daily basis. Never to be distracted by anything or anyone that is trying to knock us off our square so that we can ultimately get to the money and be beneficial to somebody else. But we first got to make sure that our cup is full before we start to pour into everybody else's cup. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. When you say where 2 or 3 is gathered in your name, there you are in the midst of us. In Jesus' name, amen. Abundance Mindset says, Anton, what it do, Slim? Bag chasers in the building. Shout out to all of my bag chasers. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Shout out to y'all. All right. All right. Y'all ready to get started with the show? Quick Hits. Quick Hits is a segment of the show that we don't necessarily think that we need to dedicate an entire segment to, but we definitely want to keep y'all in the loop on what's going on in these streets. Let's get to it, y'all. All right. First things first, Trump is mandating that people prove their citizenship before they cast a vote in the future. Check it out.
This morning, a new executive order from President Trump could overhaul U.S. elections. The executive order requires people to prove their citizenship when they register to vote in federal elections. Right now, federal law requires voters to swear under penalty of perjury that they are citizens and eligible to vote. Voting rights groups are concerned the requirement could disenfranchise people.
Democrats have fought this. They think it will cut down on voter turnout. It will suppress the vote. Fewer people will be able to get to the polls.
Election law experts question whether President Trump has the authority to make the changes. His order is likely to face legal challenges. Trump is also demanding that all ballots be received by election.
Why are we so against? And it's only one party. Election fraud, in my opinion, I believe, is rampant. It is absolutely rampant. And I also believe that is one of many reasons why they were trying to get people inside of this country that's not supposed to be there. It's because it helps for them to maintain power. And why would anybody, listen, I need an ID to check into a hotel room. I got to have a passport or an enhanced license to go to Mexico or to go to Canada. To go anywhere outside of the country, I have to have a passport. To get back into the country, I need a passport. To drive a vehicle, I need a driver's license. To get a job. A lot of people watched the vlog yesterday where I got led into the Pistons facility, and that's when I was down there trying to figure out what seats I'm going to get and all of that other stuff, right? And in order to get in the door as a visitor, I was required to provide a form of identification. I had to prove that I was who I was before I could even get in the door. And that's after I walked through the metal detectors and everything like that. So if we are making a determination for who's going to be the leader of the free world, let alone your governor, your mayor, your city council members, your aldermen, your Senate, House representatives, if we are going to make a determination for the most important decisions that is going to affect all Americans, I'm not really sure why it's an issue for people to have to prove citizenship. How does you proving citizenship disenfranchise you? It actually empowers you because it shows that the people that have the biggest vested interest are the ones that's determining what's going on in the country, let alone what's going on in your local, state, and city governments. And every single turn, at every turn, and this is just real, Democrats are 100% evil in their dedication to making sure that they completely tear apart this country. Anyways, in addition to that, two young boys, these YNs, y'all know y'all doing a J Money Challenge? I see y'all doing a J Money Challenge. I see women all over the internet saying stuff like, yo, these young boys is getting it. I seen women on the internet say that they are now turning to talk to YNs because the YNs be getting money. Well, this is one of the ways they get it, and this is the ways they're getting caught.
Frightening video of a robbery in Westchester County. A group of men smashing their way through a jewelry store and taking off with about $1.7 million worth of stolen goods.
The crime happening a few months ago, but today a break-in the case. There's been a break in the case, and 2 people have been charged in the robbery. The video, more than disturbing.
Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis live at the courthouse in White Plains. Marcus?
And Sade and Bill, today the owner of that jewelry store declined comment, but that video shows just the moments of sheer terror as that smash and grab robbery was taking place. Today, 2 of the 4 suspects arrested. They appeared a short time ago in federal court here in White Plains. It's named Tarrytown Jewelers, but it sits in a strip mall in Hartsdale. Business as usual today. But this was the terrifying scene last year. 4 masked suspects breaking through the front window in a smash and grab robbery. The violence leaves a customer cowering in fear, briefly moved out of the way so that one of the intruders can get to the jewelry and display counters. The loot carried out in bags to a waiting vehicle. Court documents contain surveillance images that show the suspects in New Jersey on December 16th, the morning a Jeep was reported stolen. A couple of hours later, the suspects are seen exiting the vehicle with sledgehammers. Within seconds, they're inside the store. According to the federal complaint, the thieves made off with $1.7 million in jewelry, rings,
and sold it for $90,000, and they split it 4 ways. Sold it for $80,000 and split it 4 ways. Got $20,000 a piece, and boy was they up. They went straight to Atlanta, straight to the jewelry store, got them some chains. You know what I'm saying? Got them a couple bottles, a section, and now they in these bracelets, these metal bracelets.
necklaces, and earrings. The bulk of the haul, 70 Rolex watches worth over $1 million alone. An FBI task force arrested 26-year-old Kevin Williams and 24-year-old Byron Wilson, who prosecutors say posed for pictures with stacks of cash after allegedly selling some of the jewelry in Manhattan's Diamond District. The acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District stating, "Today's arrest should make clear that if you commit such brazen and dangerous crimes in this district, we will find you and hold you responsible." Well, both suspects from Irvington, New Jersey, they're being held without bail, charged with conspiracy to commit robbery and robbery. They're also under investigation for possible connection to similar robberies in Nassau County.
One thing you can always guarantee, one thing that you can always guarantee from an ignorant hood dude is that they are always going to tell on themselves, which is going to lead to their arrest. And they're always going to tell on their friends once they get that pressure and they start looking at the football numbers. You ain't T Grizzly. You are not T Grizzly. You're not going to come out of prison and then they're going to do a rap song about you on your first day out. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to do none of that. You're going to go to jail. You're going to go to prison. You're going to absolutely 100% be dropping the soap. And you're going to be doing all that. You're going to be forced to join a gang. We need Scare Straight. Remember that? Remember when they used to have that program with Scare Straight where they used to bring the young boys in there and then they would have the inmates like scaring them and talking to them? Maybe that don't even work no more. I don't know. Maybe the program didn't do as good in the ratings as we wanted it to. But there will be no parade for you. Think about it like this, because you can look at the money stack and you can look at them posing for the money and all of that stuff, right? And you'll think that, oh, man, they really getting to it. Man, I really want that life. You about to put yourself in jail for 10 years over $20,000 and doing the money challenge. And they're going to tell on themselves on it because they can't help themselves. Just as important as the money is the clout. Just as important as the money, they need them Instagram followers. They got to have them Instagram followers. All right? And then last but not least, a ceasefire in the Black Sea between Russia and Ukraine. They both agreed to eliminate the use of force. Check it out.
Russia and Ukraine have a new deal aimed at limiting certain military strikes. The White House says both countries agreed to eliminate using force in the Black Sea and work toward ending strikes against energy facilities. Meanwhile, Russia carried out new drone strikes in Kyiv overnight. ABC's Patrick Reevell is following the latest from London. Patrick, this is not the full ceasefire President Trump wants Vladimir Putin to accept, but what does this mean in terms of making progress toward that?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, just in the last hour or so, the White House has put out statements based on the results of these talks that have taken place in the last couple of days in Saudi Arabia between the US and Russia and between the US and Ukraine. And it appears that Russia and Ukraine have basically agreed to stop strikes on shipping in the Black Sea. They also say that they are going to be working on measures to try and enforce this 30-day pause on strikes on energy infrastructure that Vladimir Putin said he was going to agree to a week ago, but so far has not really been observed by either side. But I think what this is really is it actually resurrects a deal that was agreed and brokered by the United Nations with Turkey back in 2022, where Russia basically agreed to stop striking cargo ships going from Ukrainian ports and basically lift its naval blockade to allow, in particular, grain shipments to leave from Ukraine, because Ukraine is a crucial provider of food for the world. And it appears now that basically Russia has agreed to go back to that deal, which it actually left in 2023. In exchange, it appears that the US has agreed to help Russia basically get some of its food and agricultural and fertilizer exports back onto the world market, and to ease or lift sanctions on specific Russian companies related to food exports and to agricultural exports. That's what the Kremlin is saying, and the US White House statement also suggests that. That again is something that was in that deal back in 2022. So while this is significant, it is an agreement between the two to at least limit some types of strikes. In reality, it's still extremely limited. What we're seeing here really is Russia basically agreeing to stop firing missiles at cargo ships in the Black Sea. So as you say, this is still very far from an actual full ceasefire, Diane.
I'm personally ready for this whole war to be over. I'm tired of hearing about it. I feel for the people over in Ukraine. I don't want us to be involved financially as far as manufacturing weapons and giving them to Ukraine. I don't want any of this. Honestly, I am a fan of world peace, and any step in the right direction to actually solve for this and to stop people from losing lives on a daily basis and all of these drone strikes, and more importantly, continuing to enrich people that have no vested interest in whether or not they want to actually get a ceasefire done at all, because weapons manufacturers and all of these defense contractors and all of this stuff, they're the real winners. They're the real winners in this thing. And for everybody that supports and is behind continuing the war and all of this stuff, obviously they've never even watched the Save It Private Ryan movie, because the face of war is ugly. It's terrible. It's 100% terrible. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is your quick hits. All right. So let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the show. I want to start off with Jasmine Crockett, but I need to acknowledge Just Christian says, leave it to Ratchet Crockett to ruin the term we use in an endearing way. Yeah, that's true. Now all Republicans mad at the term. Jerome Gray says, if voter fraud is so rampant, why do they never find any? I'm not really sure what that means. They found a ton of voter fraud. So you've never seen any of the reports where they've actually seen dumps and loads of actual ballots in specific counties dumped off and burned? Or you haven't seen, did you just join the show where even this last past election where they was talking about how people were setting, the ballot boxes on fire, where you actually go and drop off your ballot before the actual election, where it was tons of different people's absentee ballots that was missing, or it was completely discovered after the election was already over and people started to question it, and that's why they was incentivizing people to actually go and vote in person on the Republican side? Question before I read these next super chats. Do y'all actually pay attention to what y'all say? Do you think about what you say before you say it, or are you completely new to what's going on in politics, what's been happening in news, what's been reported nationwide? Right? Are you completely unfamiliar with how different countries try to influence elections by running ads on certain platforms, and how they've censored people on social media, and how ballot boxes have been burned up, and how absentee ballots has been found? You're not familiar with none of that stuff, right? Do y'all just be like, and you know what the funniest part about it, and I'm not mad at y'all. Y'all pay to be looking stupid. It's like you pay for me to then reprimand you. It's like, hey, Anton, come and get me. I just want to be dumb and ignorant. I've been showing this for the whole time. You got it. You got it. Maybe they are YN. They former YNs. They former YNs. Retired YNs. KG Hack says surrounded by Felice Johnsons. Facts. We don't want that. 392Q says, yes, they were making them kids comb inmates' chest. It was. Had that look, that little black comb. Combing the BDB chest. AR Smitty says, death and taxes and YN crash outs is always a guarantee. You ain't lying, right? Hold on, let me make sure that I get everybody. Organized. What up, Organized? Organized Truth says, Mr. Daniels, when you said working a job would be a luxury, it makes sense, not just with Doge, but with AI as well. Seems like the only logical solution is to be a bag chaser and create your own job. Well, thing about being a bag chaser is it's not just about creating your own job. It's about creating a culture by which we get every bag and we don't leave nothing on the table. And the only time that we leave one bag is if it's slowing us down from getting a bigger bag. That's the whole logic. That's called the cost-benefit analysis. We talked about that in some of my videos on the Patreon. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. We don't leave nothing on the table. Not nothing. Not one thing. All right. Commonwealth 80 or Common Man 80 says, Anton, the kids in the very first Scared Straight program were my friends. We were just kids then. We started the program in Passaic, New Jersey. We were like 17, 18 years old. Well, you here with us, so obviously it worked. And shout out to Andrew Brooks for holding us down. Thank you for supporting the platform. I appreciate you. You are absolutely 100% appreciated. And thank you to everybody to support what we got going on over here on the Millionaire Morning Show. Let me just double check something to make sure that I'm not leaving nobody out. Shout out to Marquita Davis. Marquita Davis says, unable to make the stream, but hold it down. I got you, Marquita. I also want to acknowledge our streets. Our streets is holding me down on Venmo. Thank you, our streets, for holding me down and pouring into what it is that we got going on over the Millionaire Morning Show. Been rocking with me for years, and you gorgeous and beautiful in real life. I also want to highlight my dog, Be Easy. 333 says Elon should build the battlefield on Mars for all the warlords. A lot of money. We got to figure out what the money is in that, all right? What up to Molly? What up to Night J? What up to Bobby Sherry? What up to Trini Life? Your car, Dre with the K. Everybody in the chat, Low Key Teal. Yeah, you've been slacking. Azriel, I see you. What up to everybody? I appreciate y'all. Again, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let's talk about Jasmine. You know, I like to talk about Yamin. Yamin is under fire for her Hot Wheels comment. Now, a lot of people have just been clipping it up, and they've been just, giving you whatever it is that they think is being said. What I like to do personally is I like to actually get to the source, the original source, and I want to hear the full context of most of the speech. Time dependent. I want to hear the full context of most of the speech, and I want to hear it for myself, and then we're going to come back. We had a conversation about it on After Hours last night where I got all of my friends, Molly, Q Diddy, Slimmy, and Carrie. We got all of their opinions. I want to see what she actually had to say in the full context of the speech. Now, whenever I see that equal, before I even get into this, whenever I see the equal sign, I know that realistically, they're promoting the alphabet community. They're promoting trans, gay, bisexual, spectrum, whatever it is. I don't even know. Queer, pansexual, unilateral sexual. Whenever you see that equal sign, remember, they be putting it on the stickers of their cars. They have whole campaigns where they funding this by millions and millions of dollars. Usually, that equal sign means somebody in that car has an alternative lifestyle. And then they package it and they say, well, this is a human rights campaign. Just want to let y'all know and give y'all the full context before we even deep dive into it. All right, let's continue.
Hey, y'all. Listen, so if you've ever paid any attention to me, y'all know that I always have remarks and then something else happens. And so we gonna do just a couple of remarks and then something else gonna happen, and y'all just pray for me, because who knows what I'm gonna end up saying. There we go, the sorors are always in the building.
Reading super chat shortly.
And so it's crazy though, because Morgan decided that he wanted to steal some of my thunder, so I feel away. Because I like to tell my own stories. But nevertheless, I'm going to do as Auntie Maxine always is famously known for doing. She's always reclaiming her time, and y'all, we a little behind. So I'm going to make sure that I give y'all some of y'all's time back, honey. But I have to say, it is an absolute honor to be here tonight with all of you people I love, my friends, fellow fighters, and yes, the fashionistas too. I want to start by thanking you so much for inviting me here tonight. I don't know that y'all really know what y'all got yourselves into by doing the invite, but nevertheless, let me make sure that I say thank you to the fearless warrior and leader of this organization, the amazing, soon to be dropping the baby, Kelly Robinson. Now, listen, being a black woman in America is already a challenge. Kelly says, I'm gonna be black, woman, and queer, honey, and y'all gonna get all this greatness, and I am here for it.
What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? All of these organizations that they stand up for is an alternative lifestyle that you wouldn't want on your kids. So again, before we even get to whatever comment that she's going to say, and I want to get the full context of it, they are pushing an agenda on your children, flat out. They are funding it. They are putting money behind it. She is intentionally being ratchet. She's trying to be ghetto. So it's the, hey, honey, yeah. And how Auntie Maxine said, I'm going to reclaim my time back and all of that stuff. Snatching dreams, butterfly eyelashes, heavy on the weave, heavy on the makeup, making sure that they show you that they want you, and they also are supporting everybody else that's a part of the community. This is why they fight so hard for diversity, equity, and inclusion, because they are basically being booked and invited to events that serve a purpose that goes against your traditional family structure. And this is why we label ourselves conservatives, right? Conservative values. You'll be surprised, honestly, because a lot of y'all actually have conservative values. Some of you people that are the most liberal, when I do the videos and I say, okay, I'm going to do a reaction video to this, and then I argue on behalf, because some of y'all in this chat, some of the people that hit a dislike for the algorithm, all right? Some of the guys that subscribed in here just so they can come in here and they can try to say the dumbest stuff so that I can call them out and tell them that they should have been in room 9. They need to get their helmet back on, and they should not be running wild inside of the population. Some of y'all actually, your parents taught you conservative values. You go against it because you're rebellious, you're ignorant, you're stupid, and you're rejecting godly principles because you hate your father because he wasn't in your life, and you don't know who he is, and you mad at your mother for feeding you rice and beans and being on Section 8 and giving you all of that sugar when you was younger instead of giving you fruits and vegetables to help your brain develop well. So, but realistically, the core of who you are, right? Some of y'all very same ones that are in this chat that be mad, that don't like Trump, that don't like men going in women's bathrooms, that don't like women playing in men in sports. Some of y'all very ones, the ones that like to hold women accountable every single day, you espouse conservative values, but then you support, and this is why we were so hard on liberals and all of you black people that was sitting there championing and supporting Kamala Harris and supporting Jasmine Crockett and supporting AOC, and they don't stand up for you. They don't have anything for you. As a matter of fact, if it was up to them, they would be standing on stage, waving your little sassy son's hand around and celebrating the fact that he lives an alternative lifestyle. He would get more visibility if he was wearing a dress to prom. And they speak on these platforms, and you support them and you love them, and you do it just because they black. But even though they taking you straight to hell, even though they create legislation to segregate themselves away from the core values of what's traditional and what you are looking for in a woman, the very thing that y'all complain about on these platforms, whether we talking about relationships or whether we're talking about politics, whether we talking about economic opportunity, is the very thing that you hate. Every day you come on my comment sections and you be like, Anton, man, hold these women accountable. I can't believe, oh man, they turning their son gay and stuff. And then they get up here, the very ones that you vote for, get up here and speak on these platforms, and you sit here and get mad at me because I don't support, just because she a black woman would weave, because I don't support this very narrative that's being pushed inside of our kids' school, inside of our libraries, and on our social media, that's taking over and is demonic and is absolutely ruining your lifestyle and your family. You want to know who's influencing the woman that's going to take you to family court and then support the LGBT community? It's her. She's sitting right up here on your screen. You love her. You adore her. You support her. You rock with her. You donate to the campaign, and they're going to turn your sons gay and then send them to prom. Somebody got to say it. Somebody got to tell the truth. Somebody got to tell the truth. Before we get to the governor's Hot Wheel comment, I don't know where in this video it is, but somebody got to tell the truth. You're so proud to be a part of the 92% that support the devil.
I am happy to say that not only is she a fearless fighter for each of you, but honestly, she exhibits why this country is truly great. So, Kelly, I love you. Then I gotta make sure that I holla about Todd as well. And I gotta say thank you so much to Todd as well. Thank you so much for pulling this together. And he was like, you know, she said she was gonna come through. Listen, Todd was on my back. Todd was like, nah, sis, we've been in these streets. I'm gonna need you to come through. I'm like, nah, Todd, I gotta go home. And the peoples in my district, you know, the ones that send me to, he's like, I hear you, but. And so, no, listen, I have had the honor of working with Todd behind the scenes. There was so much that went on in the campaign. And I can tell you that, you know, sometimes you meet people in this business and it's literally business as usual. And then some people that you meet and you recognize and you realize that they are going to be in your life forever. And I can truly say that Todd is one of those people. And then there's the guy that tried to steal my thunder for the night. That is Mr. Morgan Cox. And I remember when 30, for those of y'all that don't know, they just believe I'm from a big city, so they just go to the biggest one. No, I represent Dallas, and I have the esteemed honor of representing an area that we affectionately call the Gayborhood.
She represents an area that they effectively call the Gayborhood. Are y'all sitting here listening to this? See, y'all got outraged. It's funny because y'all got outraged at the fact that she called them Governor Hot Wheels. And I'm sure that we'll get to that very shortly. But y'all not outraged at the fact that she supports, espouses, and advocates for a place in her. I didn't even know that Dallas had a Gayborhood. Y'all got a Gayborhood in Dallas? Y'all got a Gayborhood in Dallas? That's what we doing now? I never knew that. I never do that. I never knew that. Wow, that's crazy. Y'all got mad at the wrong thing. Y'all should have been on her head about other things. That's crazy.
Also happy to say that I was always endorsed by Stonewall Democrats. And that was in my race for State House as well as my races for Congress. And I can tell you that Morgan has always been one of those people that will ask, what is it that nobody's really asking you? What do you? Y'all know we got Governor Hot streets, honey.
Let me rewind this.
So thank you so much, Morgan, because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes,
so ghetto. So ghetto.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna move on because I got other people this also hot in these streets. All right. Got to make sure I got through all my thank yous because we're about to go off script.
So it looks like that was planned. Personally, and I'm gonna be consistent with what I told y'all last night for the people that was actually tuned into the live stream last night. Consistently. And speaking frank and being absolutely honest, I think that was probably the least offensive things that she had to say. I don't have any problem with her saying Governor Hot Wheels. That doesn't mean anything. Yo, listen, if you're offended, if you are a legislator and you are offended by somebody saying Governor Hot Wheels, because I think that there are a lot of people that are getting distracted from the things that's really meaningful. If you are offended because she said Governor Hot Wheels, then I think that we need to have a conversation because you need thicker skin. Respectfully, politics has been, and will continue to be a place where they joust verbally, and I'm not tripping about it. Listen, I heard that they censored her. They gave her a censor. But they censored her over the Governor Hot Wheels comment. They didn't censor her over the neighborhood. They didn't censor her over the stuff that they push in this agenda that they continue to push into y'all children's schools and stuff. Y'all said if Trump said that, though. Respectfully, Trump has said way, way worse. Trump has said, wait, come on, y'all. Come on. I don't want us to be the party, the conservative party. I don't want us to be the party of easily offended by something that somebody says like Governor Hot Wheels. I'll say Governor Hot Wheels. Oh, but Anton, you said it as a term of endearment. No, I think that Greg Abbott is the best governor in the United States of America. I say it because it's funny as hell. That's why I say it. I say it because it's funny. That's why I say it. I'm not offended by that. Tell me that y'all not so sensitive that that's the thing that y'all got upset at. Honestly, real talk. Come on, y'all. Come on. Do y'all realize that when y'all get easily offended at stuff like this, that you guys are basically making her more famous? Because this is the hot story. This in the text messages is the hot story. So now I'm forced, I don't have to, but, because I got to make sure that I'm addressing what's going on with the culture. I now have to jump on this live stream and look at this and say, man, did she say something crazy? And I got to do a whole 20-minute segment on it. And we're making her more visible. Not that the Democrats are going to have any impact. Not that they're going to actually win the White House. Not that they're ever going to really be able to do anything within the foreseeable future because it is a horrible party with horrible policies, so on and so forth. But she'll continue to be a thorn and she'll continue to be visible because she loves the attention. She loved the spotlight. She can't wait to go jump on something. She can't wait to see her name. You think that she's then because Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, and people and stuff, this right here is what she wants. This is exactly what they're angling for. They want to be so incendiary. They want to be so controversial. They want to do all of the things that's going to get your attention because it helps to promote them and it keeps them visible, which ultimately is the thing that they use to stay in office and to stay in power. This actually benefits her. It may be not benefiting the entire country. It may not impact us individually, but I'm telling you that she wants this. She wants you guys to be so butthurt and outraged at something that's completely irrelevant instead of being focused on the policies, being focused that she's actually doing nothing. Because this makes it seem like, oh man, she's the leader of the party, but she's not actually doing anything productive. So if you focus more on policy and you focus more on the things that's actually meaningful to the American people, this right here is nothing to me. This don't mean nothing to me. This don't mean nothing to me. So she said Governor Hot Wheels is a hot mess. That's what y'all got offended at? Really? Come on, fam. Come on, we got to get thick. We got to get thicker skin. This is nothing. This is nothing, honest to God. In my opinion, personally, I don't see anything wrong with it. I got to be objective, and I just got to call a spade a spade. I got to be objective. But this is the thing that get her votes. This is the thing that gets her base riled up. She actually likes this because they don't have to give you anything except for court gesture jokes. They don't have to do anything because you guys are so easily distracted by offensive comments.
So I want to say also thank you to each of you for being here tonight, because your presence, your passion, and your persistence are what make this movement unstoppable. But tonight we gather under the banner of people, purpose, and progress. And so I'm now going off script, just so y'all know. This is where things may get a little off the rails. I know y'all are like, I thought it was already off the rails, child.
Not funny.
But I'm going to be quick, I promise. So first I want to talk about people. And one of the reasons that I said that Morgan actually stole some of my thunder is because one of the people that I love the most, honestly, the last time I was at an HRC dinner, she was on stage speaking. And her name is Libby. And Libby is a young trans girl right out of Texas. And Libby is actually celebrating her birthday today as well. And so, yes.
She did a whole speech celebrating the trans community, standing up for all of the things that's wrong with the community, and we focused on the wrong thing. Talk about an L. This is an L for conservatives. This is, honestly, we really missed the mark. We missed an opportunity to jump on something that was way more meaningful and impactful to affect, because if you're going to convert somebody over from a liberal mindset, if you're going to convert somebody over from the Democratic Party, you can't convert them by saying, oh man, she said an insult. You have to impact people with the things that's impacting their lives. We didn't focus anything on any of this type of speech.
Aries run the world. Mine is next Saturday. Yes. We are fire signs for a reason, y'all. And so here it is. Libby started testifying at the Texas House back when she was about 6 years old. And so here it was, they had the bathroom. You know, I actually went to the restroom and I was like, I'm confused. It say women and then it say everybody. What am I supposed to do? But we had the bathroom bills because, of course, policing bathrooms is where it's at. That's usually why most people are voting for their elected officials, because they're like, how good are you going to be about policing the bathrooms? You know, that's why we had so much drama with Sarah in the United States House, is because we had to make sure that we could police the bathrooms, y'all. And let me diverge just a little bit on that one, too. Have y'all ever heard of Nancy Mace?
She don't have nothing here.
I'll take that as a yes.
She's just talking. She don't have no value to add. She's
literally, right? Nancy was like, you know, trans people, you know, they the end of the world. She doing videos every day. She doing at least 100 tweets a day, all about the trans people, right? All at the same time that the amazing Sarah McBride is swearing into the House. And
she
listen,
got nothing.
Y'all, Sarah has more swag as well as more patience than I do.
We so distracted.
I'm going to just be real about that. And so, you know, they changed the rules, all because Sarah's in the house. And Sarah's like, cool, whatever. I got my own bathroom I don't care. Fine. And so literally, this is real life. I don't know if y'all know this, so I got to tell y'all this.
See how
it is like too stupid to be true, but it is.
Really got no speech?
So here it is.
She's winging it. She's winging it. Listen, this is a trash speech. And she don't have nothing. She showed up at the last minute, unprepared. She's trying to appease the crowd and appease her constituents. We took a small piece of it that wasn't even relevant. We made her more visible, and we didn't even focus on the fact that she's 100%. This speech is trash, and she's going off the top of the dome because she don't have no talking points, nothing to add, and it's 100%. Listen to her. She's just wasting time. She's trying to just get along and get through the speech.
One day, and we have all these Signal chats. If you don't have Signal, get on Signal, okay? Do not trust that. Get on Signal, y'all.
Distractions.
So we got all these Signal chats. So we have like our Dem Women's Caucus chat that exists. And I know there's at least one person in this room that knows this story because she's in that chat. And so, you know, I'm not going to say who, but someone was like, you know, I went to the women's restroom today, and Lauren Boebert was so rude to me. I was holding the door for Lauren Boebert, and then Lauren, you know, is like rude to me and snuffling and walks off. But then it's also Lauren Boebert, so like, whatever.
Boring. If y'all got to be able to see through this, man. You got to be able to see through the agenda. You got to see who people really are. The context clues is where the communication lies. It's not what people say. It's how they say it, whether they dragging it, if they know what they talking about, what are they trying to get across, who are they trying to appease, all of those things. We need to, come on, man, we got to go deeper. We got to go deeper. If you've never heard Jasmine Crockett speak without having a teleprompter or a speech or some agenda that she had to address, and you just seen her going off the rails, just going off the head, this is what you get, trash. And she's advocating for something that's not even good for y'all families. Come on, y'all. We got to wake up. We got to wake up. Forget the comment. We got to wake up. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's continue on with the show. I can't believe that we got distracted by that. That's why I like to get the full context. That's why I want to understand exactly what's going on outside of that, because I want to see what's really happening, and I want to see if we getting distracted or if we need to pay attention more. Get Crockett out of Texas. Keep Texas red. Shout out to T. I appreciate you. Let me see what else we got going on. Dre with the K. Shout out to you. Says, why you take everybody to hell with you last night? Had Eiley Harlem shaking up there. How to set up one-on-one calls. Email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com. Y'all might have to fight Rita in the email in order to get that done, but stay strong, my friends. I'm trying to convince her. PHA 5 says, at this point, Eric Mays is the only person that could have been able to control Jasmine, Jazz Trigger. They are thigh slapping and full-throated. I appreciate you. Jamzy the Banger says, y'all black women don't realize she's setting black women back. She is why y'all can't be taken seriously in certain positions, especially those in power. Just Christian is in the building, says Jasmine got exposed for being the female version of Papa Doc from 8 Mile to female Clarence. And Clarence's parents had a really good marriage. And Clarence lives at home with both parents, and he got a yeah. Shout out to you. Grant says, why is she asking for prayer but promoting LGBTQ at the same time? Because they panderers. And they devils and they demons. Shout out to my girl Red Cup Talks with Mika in the building. Y'all gonna see her Thursday this week. She has the nerve. The real challenge is keeping her wig from lifting up above 3 feet above her edges. Shout out to my girl Mika. Courtney Smith says this whole character of Jasmine Crockett is so outdated and at least 20 years back. AR Smitty in the building. Shout out to AR, says, while she's trying to go in on the good homie Professor X, let the Republicans mention her flying away with those butterfly lashes, and then it's racism. Yep. Hank Woodmore, this woman is a disgrace. I'm extremely bothered by the black women leaders on the left. Even AOC, they're really low-hanging fruit. Our race is lost. Whew. Dolores says, Mr. Anton, I appreciate you. Preach. Preach. Jamsey says, ooh, Dallas gay, laughing my A off. Dallas is a very liberal city. Mark the Guardian says, suburban girl that wants to be hood so bad. A.R. Smitty says, imagine raising your kids in a freaking neighborhood. Yeah, we got to get up out of there. Get Crockett out of Texas. Shout out to T. Cuddy. What up to Cuddy? That's my name. That's my name. My name is Cuddy from now on. Jasmine faking being hood. It's like the episode of Fresh Prince when Carlton went to the hood and was referring to him as C-Note. Vito Royale says, I just got off the phone with my sister in Dallas and she said the neighborhood is a true thing and that's what it's called. Wow, y'all messed up down there. Manuel AG says they've seen controversy has helped Trump and now they want to be like him. Facts. They trying to take the playbook. Shout out to Chris Cunningham. I just left my client's house and he was talking about Trump. So I said, who is your congressman? And what district are you in? He said, I don't know. I said, your district is 30. I said, that Jasmine Crockett district. Then he said, well, she don't come around. Well, they do a lot of social media. Shout out to my dog, A.R. Smitty also. Says, Libby needs help. Appreciate you. High Tolerance says, good morning, AD and the Bag Chasers. Classic definition of an unruly woman who's beyond correction. Of course, she's the unquestioned leader amongst the party of simps. Of course she is. DP in the building says, fine with the joke as long as we can make up our eyes are more wandering than Charleston White's and are more lost than Joe Biden's brain. Red Cup, my girl Mika says, I said this in my vid yesterday, a bunch of nothing, just a bunch of nothing. Make sure y'all go and check out my girl Mika's channel. Lockhart Perspective says, you know this lady is paid opposition. How do you go from being a Rhodes Scholar to speaking like a hood rat? They paid for her. Of course they did. She adapted. She's a chameleon like most women. S. Howard, too, says, you familiar with her opponent, attorney Sheldon Daniels? Brother's very impressive. Yeah, we got something scheduled. We're going to actually have him on a platform, I believe, next month in April. Chris Cunningham says, did you see my email about David Lutnick? I don't know yet. I got to check it out. Shell Shock says, I'm stuck on neighborhood. That is bonkers. Imagine having to live in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Y'all, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's go over to Greg Abbott. So Greg Abbott actually responded. All right. He responded to Jasmine Crockett's comments about him being Governor Hot Wheels. And so let's see if he is offended or if we are more offended than he is about what was said from Jasmine Crockett. Let's get to it, y'all.
All right, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has stooped to yet another low and adding on to a string of vile comments. Over the weekend, she seemingly made fun of Texas governor, friend of this program, Greg Abbott, for using a wheelchair. Take a look at this latest disgusting remark.
We in these hot Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot mess, honey.
And don't forget, she wants to hit Senator Cruz over the head hard and take down Elon as a birthday gift. Now, following intense backlash, Jasmine Crockett posted this pathetic response on X, claiming she was not thinking about his condition. Instead, was referring to the, quote, planes, trains, and automobiles that are used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors. Really? Now, before saying she never alluded to his condition, and of course, she took a jab at Trump supporters. Now, following this latest controversy involving Crockett, Texas.
Let me read this whole message real quick. I want to make sure I get the full context. It says, I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear amongst the most vulnerable. What a liar. This is a cleanup job. And see, now she misstepped because instead of standing 10 toes down And the better response will be, listen, that's a known fact. That's how we talk about it. He's been labeled Governor Hot Wheels and all of this other type of stuff. It's fun. I would have said it's funny how y'all can't take a joke, but y'all dish it out, but you can't take it. Somewhere in that vicinity. I would have stood 10 toes down on it. It would have made her more, it would have appeased her base more. But now she's going to sit here and lie and try to act like Governor Hot Wheels meant the trains, planes, and automobiles that was basically used because we've seen an infiltration of illegal migrants coming into the United States of America through the Biden administration to share in the pain. It's such a lie. It's such a liar. She's such a liar and a chameleon. Jasmine Crockett is one of the biggest chameleons ever. We don't even know what this woman really looks like. We don't even know what this woman even looks like in real life. We have no clue. What is under there? What is under that hair hat? What is under them eyelashes? What is up under all of that makeup? We don't even know what this woman is. A chameleon. She's a liar. She's a chameleon. She's trying to clean up what she said and what she did. And all you got to do is stand on it. Don't say it and then backtrack now. You thought it was funny. You thought it was funny. I didn't think it was funny, but I didn't think it was anything that big of a deal to trip about. But now she's reneging. She says literally the next line I said was, and he's a hot A mess, referencing his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition. Lies. We know exactly what you meant. So I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. So that's what she said. It looks like on X, formerly known as Twitter. Ain't that crazy? How tolerant do you have to be? Because when Twitter wasn't owned by Elon Musk, think about this for a second, y'all. When Twitter was not owned by Elon Musk, it was not uncommon to see you censored, removed from the platform. I mean, for God's sakes, they removed Trump from the platform. They banned Trump from the platform. Ain't that crazy to think about? And she's using the platform because it's the way that she get the most visibility and can directly speak to her constituents. And Elon Musk, because he's not against free speech and freedom to say what you want to say when you want to say it, even when you're speaking against him. The very one that is inciting riots and encouraging people to go and protest and tear up the dealerships and tear up Tesla vehicles, he's tolerant and he's letting you say this on his platform that he owns. Ain't that crazy? But y'all will sit there and say, oh no, the left is not tolerant. The right is not tolerant. Elon Musk, he wants to take over. He wants to censor. Then how come he letting you get your rocks off on his platform? Ain't that crazy? So you going to go on his platform. How come you ain't on Blue Sky? Huh?
But Trump supporters. Now, following this latest controversy involving Crockett, Texas Congressman Randy Weber, he told Fox News that he will introduce a censure resolution against her. Now, instead of hurling insults at him, maybe she and her fellow Democrats could learn a thing or two about governing from Abbott, who's working to push really hard for the people in the great state of Texas. God bless Texas. They want school choice. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott is here with us now. Texas Governor, good to see you. God bless Texas. You had an accident at 26, and you were jogging, and you had a very severe injury, and yes, you are in a wheelchair. And I've gotten to know you. You're a personal friend of mine. I take it personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason, and there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans 100%. Are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked #1 for the most new jobs in America over the past month, number one for the most new jobs over the past year and for several years. Texas ranks number one for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
And by the way,
do you see why he's the best governor in the United States of America? The reason why he's the best governor is because he didn't waste any time whatsoever. He's smiling, he's chilling, he ain't tripping about none of this. He don't want to be distracted from the thing that makes Texas great. Even though they may have some Democratic hellholes in Texas, like Houston, like Dallas, that have neighborhoods, even though there are some places that are extremely liberal, and it's a whole lot of people that came over from New Orleans or came over from Atlanta and they all moved to Houston. It's a whole bunch of people that wanted to be a part of the community over there in Dallas and all of these places. And Austin is basically San Francisco light. He focused 100% of his energy, 100% of his energy on what? Addressing the thing that the people want to hear. And the reason why he's the governor of Texas is because he focuses on jobs. He focuses on policy. He focuses on public safety. He focuses on AI technology. He focuses on doing the things that's in the best interest of the people for schools. He focusing on the things that really matter. We have to not be distracted by the ad hominem attacks. The minute that you start to fall into that whole trope, it's fun to talk about, but the minute that you focus all of your energy on it, you get distracted by the things that's the real issues. He playing it perfectly. He's playing it perfectly. Answering to the constituents and the people, speaking through her and using this opportunity to create more visibility about what he's doing inside of his own state. This guy is good. He's great. He's absolutely great.
When the next census comes, Texas, I'm sure, will pick up a lot of extra congressional districts, which would be great for Republicans. Let me ask you, I love the idea of abolishing the Department of Education because I believe governors like you, my governor Ron DeSantis, and others are better able to distribute the funding in a way that'll be more effective. As the president continues to point out, we spend more per capita per student on education than any other industrialized country and come in about 40th, 37 to 40, depending on what you're looking at in what given year. So it is institutional failure. How will this change things for parents that want their kids to learn reading, writing, math, science, history, and computers?
Well, for one, getting rid of the Department of Education like President Trump is doing will ensure that we are able to provide dollars more directly to what is needed most to achieve our education goals in the state of Texas. Sean, in addition to that, however, is the fact that the Department of Education has increasingly been used to impose ideology at the state level. You'll remember that it was the Biden administration that interpreted Title IX to include men who identify as women.
Yep.
And states like Texas had to fight back against that. We were spending money fighting back against the woke policies of the Biden administration as opposed to devoting those resources to the classroom, which is where they are needed.
And this is why the Department of Education was no good, is because they was using it. They were using the Department of Education to mandate and input things in there that then took resources away from the things that really matter. And what is that? Teacher salaries, educating kids, making sure that they had the infrastructure, and making sure that they had sufficient resources to continue their education and become the best in the nation. Instead, they pushing kids through. Instead, they're mandating that you put diversity, equity, and inclusion in certain classrooms. Instead, the federal government's overreach into what is supposed to be happening inside of the classroom. That's exactly what it was. And this is why the Department of Education is failing. They've been failing our students, and the federal government is using it as a tool. They were using it as a tool to push an agenda. So for everybody that is ignorant about why we needed to abolish or at least shrink the impact and the size of the Department of Education and then put more responsibility on the states themselves, not defund it, continue to put the funds, but allocate it correctly instead of over mandating, over legislating, and then pushing an agenda. This is the reason why they needed to get rid of the Department of Education.
We have Tom Homan coming up here in a minute, but you were on the front lines of this immigration lie that the border is secure and the border is closed. And every day we'd show images on this program of the exact opposite happening. We'd have people like you and Senator Cruz and others on the program, and you were in the midst of all of this, right in the middle of it. I went down to Texas with Donald Trump, and we were in the Rio Grande area, it was obvious what a disaster it was. How have things changed? What can you report back to us about Donald Trump being in office the short time he's been back?
2 words: sudden change. That's what President Trump delivered. He promised he would secure the border, and in fact, he's done that. Remember the place that you and I and President Trump were at for the interview that you conducted?
Eagles Pass.
That's the place that Joe Biden was. Eagle Pass, Texas, a place where Joe Biden was allowing thousands of people to cross a day and then let them loose in the United States. Today, there's no one crossing at the area. Last month in February, the United States set an all-time record low for the number of people who cross the border illegally. There's hardly anybody crossing our border. And so once again, we have President Trump living up to his promise to secure the border on day one.
Yeah.
Promises made, promise delivered, and this is also what you get when you see people working together, both governor, and president, and we should have Congress members, but we know that ain't necessarily going to come through. Governor and president working together to ensure that the people are benefiting from policy that is supposed to help them, not hurt them. Let me again get a round of applause for Governor Wheelchair and Governor Professor X. Again, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Forsaken Archive says, to answer Carrie's question, I was the one who said Muhammad Ali almost burnt down the Olympics. HJ says, HJ here, no respect for people who wear costumes instead of uniforms to work. Oh, and she sounds foolish. Unprofessional, unprepared, just un. I like that, HJ. Hey, Nikki says, JC want to be Donald J. Trump so bad. Amen is in the building, says, I didn't like Bert and Ernie as a child anyway. JC also says, remember when Trump made fun of the handicap? Jazz wings. All right, I got you. I know what you're trying to say. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications, all right? Let's pivot for a second. I want to get some outside comments before we continue over to the show. And, of course, we got our favorite crybaby, Van Jones. And I have not seen this video, but he was on CNN along with Scott Jennings. And I want to get their take and their insight on what they feel about what Jasmine Crockett said and if they actually think that helped her or hurt her. Let's check it out, y'all.
First of all, have you met MAGA? Have you been to a MAGA rally where Trump is mocking a disabled journalist or a POW or saying we should punch him out?
Like the way that she said W.
It is rich. And let me tell you, I have been very, very out there on criticizing Trump for that disgusting rhetoric that has coarsened the language around politics. It's gross. He's why we got here. And what she did was disgusting. And I am not going to accept her spin of this. It's disgusting and gross to mock someone who is disabled just because you don't like them. And if Democrats, this is your idea, this is what your party's going to do now, is do Trump but gross but worse and then pretend it's not. I'm not here for this, and please do better. Please, this cannot be the answer for the future of the Democratic Party.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm used to people, trying to pretend like or, not being consistent with where it is that they stand on this whole political spectrum. I wasn't expecting that. I can't lie. I wasn't expecting for that to be the case right now. But here we go. All right, let's get it.
I mean, I think actions speak louder than words. And in this instance, think
Of course, we're going to have Ashley out here. The same one that was running in the Victim Olympics. The same ones that was complaining and whining and for Trump, his actions don't matter, okay? I want to make sure that we all on the same page here. For Trump, his actions, the things that he did, how he's continuing to transform and save lives and get illegal migrants out of here and all of that stuff, Trump's actions don't matter. Jasmine Crockett, this is the same person that is overly critical on every single thing that Trump says and does, and is running in the Victim Olympics herself. For her, you know what? Action speaks louder than words. It doesn't really matter what Jasmine Crockett says. One thing we know about black women, one thing that we know about black women is that they are the sisterhood. The sisterhood, listen, the sisterhood is the strongest. It's stronger than any union. It's stronger than any union. It's stronger than any mob boss. It's stronger than any drug dealer. It's stronger than a cartel itself. The sisterhood is stronger than Gorilla Glue, bro. Have y'all ever had crazy glue? Y'all ever got crazy glue in your hands and it was difficult to get off? Sisterhood is stronger than that. The sisterhood is stronger than the Avengers. You can't break them up. The Avengers had to be broke up and come back together in order to try to bring back humanity, at least half of humanity, when Thanos snapped. Stronger than T'Challa. Stronger than the Hulk. That bond that you guys have and bad thoughts and the things that you say is unmatched. I have never seen anything stronger than all 5 Infinity Stones, all put together. The Time Stone. The Reality Stone. The sisterhood is something that needs, I'm telling you, bro, it needs to be studied. It needs to be studied. I've never seen such a strong group of sisterhoodians in my life. I'm going to get to this video. I just got to tell y'all a quick story from last night. So last night, before I jumped on the live stream with, everybody that was on the live stream last night, before I jumped on there with Molly and Carrie and all of that stuff, I go down into my lobby because obviously I'm downtown. And I go down into my lobby to, get a water or whatever. And, because we got a 24-hour market inside of my building and everything like that. And I'm walking down there, and it's 2 women that's sitting in the chairs in a little lounge area before you get over there. And the one girl says, "Wait a minute, you look like somebody famous. You look like you've been on the news. Where have I seen you at?" or whatever, so on and so forth. She said, "I just moved into the building over the weekend. Well, who are you?" And then the other girl that was sitting next to her, I guess they had just met each other because they didn't know each other. They wasn't familiar with each other, but they had just started having a conversation and had been sitting in the lounge for a little bit. And then it was the concierge, the guy at the concierge. She started laughing. The other girl that was sitting next to her says, "I know who you are. I know who you are. I seen you. You be driving that big old white Cybertruck or whatever like that." And so I play around with him a little bit. I said, it's crazy, whatever. I said, "I'm not about to be messing with y'all." Who? And then the other girl kept being insistent. "Who are you? Who are you?" And I says, "Man, y'all, I ain't nobody. I just play it off. I ain't nobody." So the concierge is laughing. I said, "I'm about to get out of here. I'm about to go over there." And so the girl, she gets up to come and follow me because she really wanted to have a conversation and she wanted to know who I was because the concierge kept laughing. "I'm going to come in here while you going into the market because I want to know." Her homegirl says, "Girl, get back over here and sit down." You know what she did? Got back over there and sat down. And then I could hear her over there, "Girl, don't be chasing no man." The sisterhood is strong. Now, here's the caveat about this, and this is the honest to God truth on everything, on my father's grave. I go into the market, I get my water, I get 2 waters, I come back out, and so I'm talking or whatever, and I'm talking to the girl that said, "Girl, get back over here," or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, all right, y'all, you know, such, nice to meet you, because I told him what my name is. I said, I'm Anton Daniels, nice to meet you, or whatever. I go to give the other girl a dap, the one that was about to follow me. She turned around, put her head down, turned away from me. I looked at the concierge. I said, what just happened here? I said, just a minute ago you was rocking, and I called her out on that. I said, and I'm laughing about it though. I said, just a minute ago you was rocking with me. Now you don't want me. I said, oh, because she told you not to. I said, she the one that just shook my hand and said, nice to meet me. You know, I ain't trying to. I said, you know what? I ain't got time for y'all. I don't have time for the sisterhood. I don't have time for the sisterhood. It took a mental note inside of my brain. Make sure that I'm not going to be around this type of woman. I need to take a mental note. When I see her, I don't know her. I don't know her. The sisterhood, y'all listen to each other against y'all own best interests. Got a chokehold. Then my concierge came back up there. He came up to my spot. He said, hey, yeah, she said, I said, who said? The one that was trying to, you know, that didn't say nothing to you. I said, what'd she say? She said she got a bakery shop out there in the suburbs because once she found out who you was, she said she got a bakery shop that she wants you to help her get together or to help promote and figure out how to market it. I said, man, if you don't get on out of my face with that, I ain't never gonna help that girl. All of a sudden, you got a bakery shop because you looked me up to figure out whether or not I got a decent enough platform. All of a sudden, yeah, she got a bakery shop that she trying to figure out how to get off the ground out there. On everything. I said, man, if you don't get on out of here, I'm not dealing with that. I ain't got time for that. The sisterhood is toxic. It's toxic. I'm sorry. Millionaire Derailment Show. This is what we do. Let me go ahead and get back to Ashley running in the Victim Olympics with regard to Jasmine Crockett.
We have a president who, when the plane crash happened in Washington, D.C., he blamed it on people with disabilities. When RFK says that autism is a threat to the American way of life, which is a disability, apparently the White House has ended ASL, American Sign Language interpreters, in briefings, which is making it inaccessible.
How many of us actually need people that are signing? Is this costing us too much money? We need to cut costs. That means that my show is inaccessible. How many? So now y'all tripping because we getting ready. Y'all just nitpicking, fam. Y'all are nitpicking. So now y'all mad because they got rid of the sign language. How many people is actually watching y'all? Don't worry about it. Let me stop.
Questioning and gutting Social Security, which a lot of disabled people rely on, Medicaid, Medicare, people rely on. And in his first campaign, mocking disability. Two wrongs don't make a right, but actions speak louder than words. And the policies of the Republican, including undermining special education, ID, the Individuals with Disability and Education Act, making sure that schools are not going to be accessible. Those are the actions of this administration. Those are the actions of the Republican Party. I would rather folks be demonizing those things than...
But to be clear, you don't agree with what she said, right?
Well, her explanation was that she wasn't referring to that policy. If she
so you buy that?
But here's the thing. If you make fun of somebody because of their disability, I do not agree with that. As a person with a disability, as a person who has family members with a disability, as a person who has taught children with a disability, that is not acceptable. She said that's not what she was doing, and so I know Jasmine, and I believe Jasmine if that's what she was saying.
The sisterhood is strong. It's stronger than any bond. It's stronger than the bond that you have with your children. A woman will abandon her own children because of the sisterhood. I believe her. No, you don't. No, you don't. All you got to do is say, you know what, I'm loyal. I decline to speak about this because I don't want to look stupid. Come on, fam.
Well, I don't know her yet. And so here's how I see it. She's new. Mm-hmm. She's young and she's trying to find her way. I think that this party is scrambling, trying to seem tough. And I'm seeing this party traffic in a lot of curse words. That's supposed to be like the new cool thing to do. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to be as useful. I've even heard Pete Buttigieg with a whole bunch of curse words. I don't know who gave that memo. I don't think that's very useful. I think you have to be very careful when you're talking about people with disabilities. And I don't think she was careful. And I don't know her enough to say she's not being honest. But I'm going to tell you, it sounded bad. And I just want to finish. I think this party is trying to find a way to look tough and to show fight. But this is not the way.
Facts.
I don't think the cursing is going to work.
Yep.
I think I've been on stage.
Wow,
and I've
I
gotten,
agree with
a
Van
little bit
Jones.
hyped sometimes too. I hope that she will take this as lessons. You talked about learning lessons, that type of stuff. It doesn't sound to me like she's actually taking full responsibility. If that's true, I don't like it, and she can't do that again.
Van Jones, let me tell you something. As right as you are, because even though I may not be offended by it, she is getting more popular than ever, and the only thing that matters is that dopamine hit and that you think that you're actually benefiting yourself. And trust me, she may be tanking the party, but individually, she thinks that she's winning, and that's the thing that she's going to continue to lean into. I'm telling you, as right as Van Jones is, and I almost never agree with the crier of Biden. Never agree with the crier of Biden. As much as Van Jones is absolutely accurate with regard to that, I'm telling you right now that it's in the Democrat Party is individual over the party right now. Nobody really cares about the Democratic Party. It's every man for themselves. It's save yourself a seat. It's make sure that you got enough votes. It's make sure you can raise enough money and make sure you can get your Instagram popping. Real talk. The reason why we can't get distracted as a party, as a conservative Republican Party, is because they are all eating themselves. They don't care. They throwing each other under the bus. They not cursing. They are social media influencers now. These people are content creators. They are not legislators. They are not trying to focus on policy, on budget. That's their second job. Their first job is to get their Instagram, their TikTok, and their Twitter popping, bro. That whole party is in shambles. And the only thing I keep telling Republicans to do is let them eat each other. When you see people killing each other inside of the neighborhood, the way that you gentrify it is you lower the value so you can get it at a cost, and then you let each other eat each other. Don't distract them by continuing to try to stop them. Don't try to save the neighborhood. What you doing? Boy, this is a classic conquer from within tactic and strategy that the Republicans are executing on beautifully. They are eating each other. They don't like each other. They gnawing at the teeth. They supporting all of the wrong policies. They moving even further left than ever before. Why would you stop them? Why are we complaining about what they doing? Let them do what they do. Let them dye their hair to hot pink. Let them claw each other's eyes out and let them curse themselves into becoming even more prevalent content creators. We're going to make all of the money off of them. They're going to say something absolutely crazy again. We're going to do a whole nother live stream. The Republicans benefit, we benefit, and then they benefit as individuals, but the party is absolutely going to be in shambles.
It's too important to us to do that again.
What I fear is that no lesson could ever be learned as long as you're doing these things in front of audiences who roar when you do it. When you have comedians who are broad messengers for the left making
Scott,
unfair jokes and people are roaring, when you have politicians being vulgar and saying what's the lesson?
We're trying.
What's the audience? It says a lot about the audience.
But no, what we're trying to deal with is that Trump has done this and he's been successful.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody who does this stuff and they're successful, you start thinking, well, is that the right way? I would like for us to say it's not. But I think it's hard for us to hear Republicans scolding us on it when your guy does it all the time. We are trying to find a way for it. Jasmine is too important to make these kinds of mistakes. I think.
Imagine being of a party where one of the most important people in your party is Jasmine Crockett. That should tell you where the state is of the Democratic Party. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Let me go ahead and read some of these super chats so we can continue on with the show. Don't let them stop from eating themselves. Let them eat themselves alive. A.R. Smitty says, Van Lathan, Van Jones, Van Shoe Brand, Vans are down bad. You don't like Vans? So the sisterhood is Costa Nostra. Cuddy in the building says the sisterhood is the delusion stone. It's a sixth stone out there. Shout out to AD for choosing the perfect thumbnail of Jasmine for this segment. That one. Appreciate you, Courtney Smith. Nichelle says the sisterhood is very educated, lonely, angry, and notorious for biting off their own nose to spite their face. My dog, Chris Cunningham, says Van Jones owes Trump, so he's following suit. Kid Chameleon is in the building. Says the only thing the sisterhood is unified in is destroying the black community and black men without a common enemy. They eat each other. The sisterhood is weak. Tony Nichols says, why people getting mad at the term Hot Wheels? His Republican enemies have already nicknamed him Ironside after the old TV show. I don't know, because we want to get mad at something. We don't got nothing to be mad at right now because we've been winning a long time. When you get a little bit, you know what I'm saying? When you used to operating in dysfunction, sometimes too much quiet. It's like moving out to the suburbs after you been in the city in the hood your whole life. And when you're used to hearing sirens, when you just start hearing crickets, it becomes eerie and it takes some time to get used to. But in the meantime, you're going to still make sure that you go back to the hood to go to Coney Island. You know why? You still got to get your fix. You're still trying to adapt to the new environment. We've been winning for so long, we don't know what to do with ourselves. So the first thing that we do, that's what we doing. AD, what's your opinion on investing in REITs? Don't. I'm not a fan of REITs. I'm not a fan of real estate investment trusts at all. I think that you should be direct and hands-on with your investments. You're better off investing in companies in the stock market, the companies that we benefit from the most. Don't forget Kamala didn't pass her bar. And Crockett, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into these text messages, all right? So they're answering for these text messages, and I'll continue to read Super Chats and Cash Apps throughout the show. They're answering and they're addressing what is going on with these released text messages on Signal and The Atlantic. A journalist from The Atlantic apparently was the one that received the text messages. They made them available to the general public, and this is the fallout from it. So we're going to get it. We may get it from a couple different lenses. First, I want to go over to a more liberal platform, right? So we do have it from Fox News if we have the time to get to it, because I don't want to spend any more than 15 minutes on this. If we have the time to get over to the Fox News take, we definitely will. But let's get it from the CNN's perspective to give you the latest update on the text messages and what was released that the journalist was then included on.
CNN's Zach Cohen has new reporting as well for us in this breaking news. What are you learning about what has been?
Somebody said, Anton, you start the show too early. How? And I made it as late as possible. I mean, we practically making it the Millionaire Afternoon show, right? Now, I plan on making it earlier, but if you want to make it difficult, I don't know.
Published when you hear J.D. Vance saying this was oversold by Goldberg.
Yes, Sarah, sources are telling me and our colleague Natasha Bertrand effectively the exact opposite, and that the information that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth posted in this group chat was highly classified at the time. And that's especially because at that moment, the operation had not even started yet. One of our sources, a U.S. defense official, says that the operational plans that are these are our operational plans that are highly classified in order to protect service members, the ones that were obviously helping carry out the strike that is really laid out in a detailed timeline in these messages posted by The Atlantic today. And look, these are the kind of updates that would be given to the president in a highly classified setting in real time as the operation unfolded. Our sources are really stressing that, of course, this information was as sensitive as it appeared to be. And there's been some hints as to that being the fact, including yesterday, CIA Director John Ratcliffe was asked a hypothetical about whether or not pre-decisional planning deliberations, like what's detailed in these messages, should be delivered in a classified setting, and he said, of course they should. And look, but this is something that Donald Trump himself said yesterday.
It wasn't WhatsApp for the people that know. I think it was in Signal. I use Signal for all of my text messages too.
Asked that there was no information in these chats or in this chat that was classified. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth actually sort of declined to address a question whether or not he declassified the information that he posted. But we're learning today now that the details and the information that Hegseth specifically posted to this group chat was in fact classified at the time.
I was about to say, how do you determine what's the difference between what's classified and what's unclassified, but you still don't want everybody to know? What's the difference? Somebody in the chat, let me know. What's the difference between classified and unclassified? Now, I'm sure that how sensitive the information is, that's a determining factor. You don't want your enemies to understand exactly what your strategy is. All of that, right? I get it. But how severe or how important does the information have to be to where we determine whether or not it's classified or unclassified? Because unclassified information doesn't necessarily make it to the general public either, right? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do you determine if it was or wasn't classified, but it's important either way, and no journalist should have ever got their hands on it? Now, some people in the chat are saying that Pete Hegseth, he's probably the weakest link. Pete Hegseth isn't the person that actually included the journalist inside of the group chat in the first place. Pete Hegseth is the person that's catching all of the blowback from it, but it wasn't even Pete Hegseth that included this journalist inside of this group chat, all right?
Time that he wrote it.
Zach Cohen, thank you so much. We're just getting more information that just came in. Now we're seeing the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, who on the text messages shows that he is the one that added Jeffrey Goldberg apparently into this particular group chat, saying that he now is downplaying the new information contained in the Signal chat that the entire country can now look at. It says no locations, no sources and methods, no war plans, doubling down on the idea that the administration and that this group chat was not about war plans when there was clearly a plan that was spelled out in these text messages.
All right, with us now, Kimberly Dozier, CNN Global Affairs analyst.
To know that the Atlantic actually releases to the general public is crazy. Like, I know these news organizations, they got to do the thing that's going to generate the revenue. They got to keep their ratings up. They got to make sure that they stay significant. This is a gift that probably fell right into the Atlantic's lap, where they get more visibility, they get more readers, they get a whole lot of people that hit their website, all of that stuff. But releasing this information, knowing that it then get in the hands of whoever your enemies are, how do you do that? Like, is that okay? Do you pick and choose when you do it? Or as a journalist, you just release it because you're like, listen, I got my hands on the information and all news is good news?
Colonel Cedric Layton, Sabrina Singh, former Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary, Mark Zaid, National Security Attorney. And Mark, I want to start with you because what we are clearly seeing over the last few minutes, based on what we just heard from the National Security Advisor and the Vice President, is sort of wish casting from inside the administration to wish cast this into something that wasn't that big of a deal. Yesterday, you called this a major OPSEC failure, operational security failure. That was before you saw the text messages on Signal. You deal in classified information in your law practice. What do you think now that you've seen the messages?
I can't believe how anyone would think it wasn't classified at the time, which I guess is what they are at least acknowledging. I
hear you, Connie
Jeffrey
Harris.
Goldberg had given these text messages first to the intelligence committees to examine before putting them out there. But the administration gave him that opening without a doubt by their doubling down on what they say wasn't in there. This was a horrible blunder. The administration is doing, unfortunately, what it generally does, which is attack the messenger, deflect from what the actual issues are rather than just acknowledge you made a big mistake. You had, from what I
think they did acknowledge
good
it, though, didn't they?
operation that should be applauded. But from a security standpoint, this is just another example of how, frankly, incompetent this administration has been in handling national security issues.
All right, we pushing it a little bit far. Mike Waltz has admitted to the fact that he did do a little blunder and he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and it probably went a little bit too far and all of this stuff. So we acknowledge that. Everybody acknowledged that it was a fault. Mike Waltz actually has been public and taking responsibility for what is going on. And so let's not make this more than what it really is. It is a blunder. I think that it is a bad thing. But let's not try to make it seem like, there's no responsibility being taken just because they, at the same time, are saying, listen, we don't want this type of information to also fall into the hands of wrong people, and we shouldn't have this type of stuff being released. So, and I don't blame them for releasing it either, but, I don't know.
And Sabrina, let me bring you in on this. You, of course, worked in communications at the at the Pentagon under Lloyd Austin until just a short time ago. The description, the kind of opposing descriptions that we are getting from the reporting, the messages, and the response from Mike Waltz and others on what they see. What do you see?
Yeah, it's pretty clear what's here in those text messages. What we see is a pretty concise TikTok of events. We see the time and locations of where the strikes are going to occur. We even see that Secretary Hegseth put the airframes that were going to be used to conduct those strikes in the text thread. I understand that the Republicans are trying to cover up and parse that, the exact locations aren't given. It is well known where the Houthis control territory within Yemen. The fact that the secretary put this incredibly sensitive, classified, top secret TikTok sequence of events in an unclassified group chat, had that been intercepted by an adversary, that could have killed one of our fighter pilots that were in the air preparing to conduct that strike. And so it's incredibly damaging. I think that this talk that there was nothing classified put in this thread, anything that is before an operation begins, is classified. And that's what needs to be investigated. And frankly, I think we're seeing the gross incompetence, not only of Secretary Hegseth, but others that participated in this chat as well.
Yeah, objectively speaking, I do think that, and I'm pretty sure that Trump was pissed. Like, I'm almost positive that Trump was probably absolutely angry, pissed off that this happened, because it takes away from what he's trying to promote and how he's trying to say and show that the administration is doing the will of the American people and taking care of business. So I'm pretty sure that he was absolutely pissed as a result of this coming out. Let me see if I can get it from Fox's perspective about these text messages and his signal chat leak, how they're trying to have this conversation, and if it differs anything from CNN trying to project themselves as being objective reporters.
Breaking news now. We're going to head to the White House, where Peter Doocy is standing by as we have this Fox News alert for you. The Atlantic has now just published brand new messages from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and others from that Signal chat group that accidentally included a journalist. Peter Doocy is live at the White House for us. The acknowledgement comes from the reporter that Hegseth, Peter, said that nobody was texting war plans in response to the release of these messages by the journalists. You also had members of the security team in that hearing yesterday saying no classified information was shared in that group, which led the journalist to then publish this piece just moments ago saying, we faced a dilemma then, because he said that war plans were indeed exchanged on this text. What are you hearing, and what do we learn?
Somebody said, what does this have to do with Trump? What do you mean, what does it have to do with Trump? He's the leader of the free world. You delegate responsibilities, but everything comes back up to the top. Hold on, wait. And again, I promised y'all a couple weeks ago that I was going to be as objective as I possibly can and try to separate what I believe as my opinion as a conservative from just absolutely being straight up and real with y'all. Look. You can't dodge responsibility as a leader. The biggest thing that you can do is take ownership and responsibility of it, because you are the person, and your administration is the one that appointed the people that are making these decisions on a regular basis. It has everything to do with Trump. Has everything to do with his administration. Has everything to do with his legacy. Has everything to do with pointing to how he's managing this situation, if he's managing it right, if he put the right people in place, so on and so forth. And so, yes, this absolutely rolls back up to the top. If somebody is a part of my platform and I'm platforming them and I endorse them and I rock with them, and then they go on there and they do some crazy stuff while they're on my platform, that then, I have to deal with that, because the question then becomes, wait a minute, did I pick the right person? Did I entrust? Is my judgment what it needs to be? And more importantly, how do I handle it going forward to ensure that it doesn't tank the company and that we're responsible? It always rolls up to the top. Everything rolls up to the top. So realistically, regardless of whether it was his fault or not, he then becomes responsible for what happens, because our service members' lives are at risk. You know, we got to make sure that we're doing things the right way, and it is important. It is very important for us to understand the chain of command and leadership. Your girl, all right, let's talk about the leadership within our households. Your children, your girl, everybody that is under you is a representation of you. If your girl is unruly, if your children are unruly, if people are not doing what they're supposed to do, if people are embarrassing you, guess what? As men, we hold you accountable. You hold her accountable. We hold you accountable. You understand what I'm saying? It's your responsibility to get your chick in order because she out here making you look bad. It's our observation and saying, listen, that household is in shambles. Who the leader of the household? Let me go talk to him. It's the reason why parents are held accountable when they children then do stuff. These classroom shooters and stuff like that, they arrest the parents too. They 100% arrest the parents. So we can't skirt responsibility. I'm sure Trump is pissed. I'm sure he pissed. And he like, man, if this ever happened again, some heads is going to roll.
Now.
Well, we have some more of the material that was being discussed on this chat. Pete Hegseth says no war plans, and let's show you what we have, and you can decide if this looks like a war plan. He texted the group at one point. At 2:10, more F-18s launch, second strike package. Then at 2:15, strike drones on target, all caps. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based target.
I can see we got a lot of feminine people inside of the chat again that never, don't y'all, we need stronger men. We do. We can hold women accountable, but we need stronger men. No, that's not my fault. That's her fault. No, everything. Listen, how you going to say you want a person to be 100% submissive to you, but then not take responsibility of what happened to them? If they're doing what you say and they following your lead, or you decided to marry them or whatever like that, you become 100% responsible for what goes on inside of your household. What part of that don't y'all understand? See, I don't know if y'all have ever ran companies or ran businesses or been responsible for hiring people and stuff. You know what happens when people don't do what you say? You lose the business. It doesn't matter. When people have a bad experience at a restaurant, they don't say, man, it's that server's fault. They say, I'm never going back to that restaurant. So regardless of how you feel about whose fault it is, the only thing that I want to do is solve for the problem. Am I solving for the problem by making sure that you don't do it again? Do I need to put some policies in place? Do I need to put more structure? Or do I need to fire you and get somebody else that's in the best position? But ultimately, you got to come out and say, you know what? This is my restaurant and it'll never happen again. And then internally, you handle it behind the scenes. It's your responsibility. Nobody goes and say, man, I had a bad experience with that worker. They say those workers are a representation of the business and it is bad experience and I don't like the customer service and I'm not going there nowhere and I'm giving them 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star. The worker leaves and go to another job. You still got 1 star. Does that make sense? Breaking it down from a C-student's perspective now, does that register with you guys to where now, okay, listen, I need to be more mindful of who I pick to represent me, who I hire, who I marry, who I'm rocking with, who I'm spending my time with, who I decide to laugh. You have to be very vigilant. We can't mess up. We can't make mistakes. And if we do, we got to own it 100%. Otherwise, you need a partner. You need some other people to make sure you feel good about yourself. You got to take ownership of everything, and you also get the glory. And ain't that tripped out? When you win, hey, this is all me. When you catch an L, you know what? They didn't do what they were supposed to do. No, you take all of the glory and you take all of the L's. Everything comes back to you. Everything comes back it goes up to the top. Complaints go up, not down. Up, not down. Remember that. You get all of the glory, but you also get all of the L's that go along with it. You got to take them both. You got to own everything. Everything.
It goes on to explain F-18 strikes, and then he says more to follow. He says they were currently clean on OPSEC. We know that the Pentagon has more detailed imaging and coordinates than that. And there is no imaging or satellite photos or coordinates or targets listed here. specifically. And so it would seem that if you're going to fly F-18s and drones to take out Houthi guys, wherever it is that they're hiding out, the Pentagon has all of that information. So when they say there's no war plans, maybe they just mean that this text image did not include the full package of everything that they knew and everything that they could see and hear on the ground. But there is definitely some details, at least about timing, that is available. But the White House basically, or rather top national security officials basically dared The Atlantic to put this out. They sent Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe to the Hill yesterday to say there was nothing classified in here. Jeffrey Goldberg says that Caroline Leavitt emailed him last night suggesting that they did not want this material out there. But if it's not classified, it's not classified, and The Atlantic decided to go forward. So that's...
Well, yeah, I think that they can't let this type of thing happen again, especially this early into the administration, because if so, then you're going to start to see heads roll. And that's my opinion of it, objectively speaking. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's continue on with the show. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to continue on. So let's see what we got here. LaShawn Jones. What up, LaShawn? Says, I finally caught a live show. Hey, Anton, I love the way you speak about your wife and daughter. Awesome. Thank you, LaShawn. I appreciate you, and thank you for the 20. Thank you. If y'all not a part of the Patreon, make sure you tap into the Patreon. I'm doing a live stream tonight for everybody that's tapped in. This is just a dog and pony show for the Dems and people that are against Trump to just yell and holler. Jeffries already tried to tell Hegseth he should be fired. It is political theater as usual, says Sub-Zero. Aaron L. says that discussion should be held in a closed room only. Texting whether the reporter was there or not can be hacked. That's a severely bad leak. Shout out to Aaron L. Derek Brown says if someone else set up the Signal account and he says the reporter isn't in his contacts, how do we know it wasn't set up with a back door? Elizabeth Williams says, honestly, I don't buy it being an accident. The Democrats have been trying to sabotage Trump from day one. This was done on purpose. Aaron L. says you can't bring any electronics into a closed room. Not even car keys or an Apple Watch. Even a pacemaker needs to be cleared. All can be leaks. As B says, if that info was really classified, Goldberg would have been in a windowless room being interrogated with all of his electronics seized right now. Kevin Bonham Jr. says, Benghazi, Hillary, and Obama, people died. Correct. Chadford Moore says, any leader worth their salt knows what it means to take responsibility of their team's actions when it's bad and give praise to the team when it's good. Derek Brown says, in management, you answer for everyone under you. That's a fact. They don't really care about who. Oh, it was their fault. Hey, man, why your team ain't together? That's 100% fact. Fire Hegseth, he is a DEI hire, not qualified. I wouldn't go that far. Chadford Moore says, I'm more concerned about the plans getting leaked and needing to change them so our plans of action won't be known. Divine Roberson says, where was this smoke when we lost 13 soldiers in that disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal and left $88 billion worth of military equipment to a terrorist group? I had the same smoke for them too. Sub-Zero says signal decode, carrier off coast, F-18 strike package, 2 to 4 birds carrying JDAMs, MQ-9 Reaper drone carrying AGM-114 Hellfire missiles overhead at 50K feet, destroyer off the coast will launch CMs. Yeah, that sounds pretty classified to me. Just happy to be alive. Shout out to the bag chasers. Shout out to the chasers. Aaron L. says, people like Pete give overall DEI a bad rap. He's in over his head. He represents when people misuse DEI in a bad way. He's DEI as a military veteran. I don't agree with that, but okay. Dems are having a field day with this one. Yeah, they're going to be talking about this one for about 2 or 3 days. Chris Jones says these target acquisitions are held face to face. Well, I don't know much about what the protocol is for the military, but I do think that was fumbled a little bit. But anyways, let's continue on with the show. So I want to have one more conversation, and I only want to spend about 10 minutes on this. But before we do, let me preface it by saying that we still have a lot of USPS, United States Postal Workers, that are protesting nationwide against the possibility of privatization. All right. The possibility of privatization. Why are they protesting against the possibility of privatization? Well, the reason that they're protesting against the possibility of privatization, well, I'll talk about it in a minute.
Across the country today, thousands of U.S. postal workers rallied against proposed plans to privatize the Postal Service. 2 sites in Indiana were part of those demonstrations. Our Ashton Hackman tonight shares what workers are worried about.
A day of rain didn't stop a day of action for Indy postal workers, sounding the alarm about possible changes coming out of the nation's capital.
The Postal Service is to serve the public. We don't want it in the hands of billionaires.
A morning rally in Fishers, and another outside the State House among the hundreds taking place across the country.
Postal employees are some of the most respected federal workers in America. And this is to make the public aware of the definite threat against the American mail system.
The rallies come just days after the U.S. Postmaster General signed an agreement with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to both cut costs and reform the agency, changes that could put nearly 10,000 postal workers out of a job. And there's issues the agency faces here at home. 13 News first reported on the continued backlog at the USPS distribution hub on Indy's east side after receiving dozens of calls and emails about packages being delayed and lost. Packages the union says will face even more delays at a higher price.
Shipping costs are going to go up, which is going to be inflationary.
Today, postal union members say the problem could get only worse if the agency is privatized.
Privatization would hurt the service for people in smaller communities, harder to serve communities. You might have to pay more, you might not get service at all. There have been plans to privatize before Trump, there'll be plans to privatize after Trump, so it's just part of what we have to do.
Now, remember that the Postal Service last year, and they regularly are in the red. The Postal Service last year lost an estimated $10 billion. $10 billion last year. Any business that continuously over the history of the Postal Service itself that loses $10 billion and it does get subsidized by the federal government and American taxpayers, at some point, we have to evaluate either can we make it solvent to where it doesn't become a nuisance, or should we at some point figure out how to piece it together and privatize the majority of it and only serve the most rural of areas to ensure that they get mail? We got to have that conversation. But CNBC did a recent video on the bloat within the federal workforce that I thought would be interesting to review or to take a couple talking points from so that we can illustrate why this is a problem.
The U.S. federal government employs roughly 2.4 million people across over 400 agencies.
That's a lot.
That's not including postal workers and active duty military personnel. President Trump has said he wants to
not including postal workers or active military personnel. Okay? Not
increase the size of that workforce by up to 10%, or 240,000 people. The effort to downsize the government has been led by Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency. Tens of thousands of federal employees were laid off in recent weeks.
We were leaving work fully employed and coming back the next morning without a job.
But now the terminations are being challenged in court, and the administration has been ordered to issue sweeping job reinstatements.
2 federal courts on opposite coasts taking similar cases and coming to similar decisions here, ruling that the firings of so-called probationary workers were improper mass firings and ordering that tens of thousands of these workers be put back on their jobs.
It's unclear when reinstated employees will be asked to return to work, as some are reportedly being put on administrative leave. The Trump administration has also moved to dismantle entire agencies, such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the U.S. Agency for International Development, and the Department of Education. But again, courts around the country are challenging the legality of those cuts.
Now, you got to remember, a lot of people don't know this, but Biden and his administration had been secretly well, maybe not so secretly, but they weren't announcing it. It was something that was in the news, but we all got distracted because we were so focused on Diddy. We were so focused on the false accusations against Jay-Z. We was more focused on the predictions of Cat Williams that nobody was paying attention that Biden was basically putting in judges so that ultimately whatever Trump did, they would be able to challenge him in court. Now, when this goes up and rolls up into the Supreme Court, which I believe this is why the rhetoric is changing when it comes to the dismantling of the Department of Education. What does that mean, Anton? From a C student's perspective, it means that they're failing fast and learning early. They may be able to ultimately make sure that they can get everything that they wanted to get as far as saving the amount of money from the fraud, waste, and abuse that's in the federal government, right? But as with anything with the American government, everything is slow. It goes through the court system. It's a bureaucratic process. And in the meantime, American taxpayers are the ones that pay for it. So when Trump then came through and he said, well, we're going to dismantle the Department of Education, really, that's the rhetoric. But the words are really, we're going to shrink it and minimize it and then try to move it over or merge it into another department because we really want to get rid of it, but we've learned about dismantling USAID. We've learned about dealing with all of these temporary workers or workers that are on probation in the courts that were basically installing government or Biden judges or Obama level judges to make sure that they can mess up and distract us from any of the changes that we actually mandated as the American people. Now we're changing the rhetoric and we're going to say, we're going to keep funding, but we're going to move it. We're going to shrink it. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of that. So even when they're dismantling it, they have to do it according to how to minimize the amount of restrictions or friction that they run into in the process. Fail fast, learn early, make the adjustments, still fight the fight, ensure that you roll it up to the Supreme Court or however high you got to do it. But you're going to have to continue to overcome all these obstacles and barriers that was set before you to then get you tripped up so that we can accomplish the things that the American people mandated that they accomplish. But they have over 2.4 million government workers. Has nothing to do with additional contractors, has nothing to do with active military, and has nothing to do with USPS workers, okay? This is how bloated our government is. People often at times would graduate college, and if they wanted to be safe, if you wanted to make a lot of money, then you go into the private sector. If you wanted to be safe, then you went into the federal government. And that's why the majority of what you see over in Washington, D.C. is liberal. Everything that is happening over in D.C., most of the people are super liberal. Well, why are they liberal? Even though they work for the government, because this is the place where you can have a safe workspace, a safe environment. You can be guaranteed a job. You don't have to worry about anything else that's coming along with it. And you can still espouse your values and your views. So over in D.C., the majority of the people that benefit there, that depend on the federal government, is going to be liberal. Because it's the safest space for them to be able to say and do what they want to do and still get paid from it and get their student loans forgiven over a period of 10 years. If they get an income-based, income-based repayment plan, it's safe. You don't have to sink. You don't have to swim. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to compete. You don't have to actually participate in capitalism. You don't have to add value. It's all diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's all, there's no merit base to it. You don't have to do anything. You get you a cushy government job. You steal some money. You ain't got to worry about it. And you're going to live a life happily ever after. Don't matter what your degree is, liberal arts, diversity, equity, and inclusion, African-American studies, underwater basket weaving. That's why people typically took government jobs, because it was a safe option. It was a safe against inflation. It was safe against layoffs. It was safe against a recession. And that's why most people still had that government base.
This has been an extraordinary first part of the second Trump term. What's been most extraordinary is the way in which the new administration has fundamentally destroyed so much of the capability in our government.
At the center of it all, a narrative that the federal government is too large.
We're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy.
Facts.
We have a lot of people that aren't doing their job.
Efforts to streamline the
Every
government
single
workforce
business,
and cut down on spending.
every single private business in the world, let alone the United States of America, regularly goes through and right-sizes itself. They get rid of the old people. They offer them buyouts. They offer them early retirements. They get rid of the lazy people. They try to cull the workforce and find the people that add value, and they shrink their operations. They close departments. They move people. They have natural attrition in every single business in the world. Because make no mistake about it, the federal government is a business. Every business in the world, every one of them, right-size themselves. All of them.
Are not new.
I am ordering a reduction of the federal bureaucracy by at least 100,000 positions over the next 4 years. The steps we're taking today will save the American taxpayers $9 billion.
There's no doubt that there's bloat in some places, in some functions. But you gotta identify it first. You don't just cut the whole thing. What they're gonna have to do is they're cutting the whole thing, and they're gonna have to go back and build again, right, the things that they cut out that in fact turn out to be essential.
So just how wasteful has the U.S. federal government become? And has it gotten worse over time? And will cutting government workers and programs actually make a dent in the nation's more than $1.8 trillion deficit?
Now, you got to remember that $1.8 trillion deficit, okay? That $1.8
actually make a dent in the nation's
deficit,
more than 1.
That is annually. That means that if you take in $5 trillion, but your bills and obligations is $6.8 trillion, this is the only business in the world, the business of American money, printing, and this is one of the reasons why inflation is so bad. It's one of the only places in the world, the only entities in the world where you can still somewhat remain solvent, but you're running a $1.8 trillion annual deficit every single year. You can't do it in your household. You can't do it in private businesses. You can't do it in real estate. You can't do it in a restaurant. Eventually, what happens? You close down. You close down. And then your foreign enemies, your adversaries, are basically buying up the debt. They're the ones that's financing all of the deficit. So then you become what? Too big to fail. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. We have a huge, huge problem, but the majority of people don't even understand how their own household's budget works. Majority of the people don't even have a budget. Majority of people is living paycheck to paycheck. So what makes you think that they're going to take into consideration how we manage the federal deficit, or whether or not we have to have a surplus and make the hard decisions? They don't care, man. They burn this whole country down. They burn their own cities down. They burn their own stores. They got a food desert where they live in. Man, don't nobody care about whether or not the government is operating at a surplus or a deficit. You know what they care about? How they feel right here, right now, and whether or not the person that's doing it is somebody that they agree with. Don't matter. If Biden would have said, hey, man, we need to have a government reduction so that we can actually operate at a surplus, y'all wouldn't have tripped. When Trump said, hey, man, I'm a businessman, and looking at it from a business perspective, there's no way that the United States of America, for your children and their children to remain solvent, and we're going to go broke, and this country is going to absolutely be in shambles. If we do, we need to tackle it now, because every single president before me kicked the can down the road. We need to make sure that we do the thing that's in the best interest of Americans. No! Only place in the world where you can justify fraud, waste, and abuse, and y'all okay with it with paying for your tax dollars. Meanwhile, you complaining about egg prices in California. Only place in the world. The only place where you can complain. We can look at countless examples of different countries that has absolutely went under and been in shambles because of the way that they run the federal government, and they running it like a piggy bank. We're not adult enough to look at it from a business perspective and realize that your children are the ones that's going to suffer from it. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Let me read a couple of more super chats, and then I'm going to go ahead and get y'all out. I just wanted to have that conversation with you guys to make sure that we was all on the same page, all right? That's all. That's all. just to try to break it down from a C student's perspective. Divine Roberson says, Zesty Zay and Brian, the mission was not compromised. It was a success, unlike the Afghanistan withdrawal. USPS is like the WNBA of delivery services. Government doesn't even trust the Postal Service. We need FedEx. Shout out to Jeremy H. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are the greatest audience on earth. Again, for all of my bag chasers and my Patreon members, I am going to be doing a Q&A tonight, so that you guys can ask and get answers to every question that you want from a content creation perspective. And then hopefully I can continue to add value into your lives. Look for that post probably within the next few hours on Patreon. Probably going to do it around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Adjust for your time zone. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel on your way out the door. And love your neighbors, love yourself, and make sure your cup runneth over before you continue to pour into other people. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.